Scroll of the Cult of Isis, the mother of the hidden flame, from the temple archives of the living veil. They reduced her to myth. They called her a goddess of love, of fertility, of magic. But Isis, the true Isis, was not a goddess. She was a system of remembrance, a living code of divine science designed to awaken the power of creation within humanity itself. The mother beyond myth. Before the first pyramid rose from the sands, before Egypt even had a name, the world still remembered the sound of its mother, the frequency of life itself. That vibration was Isis. She was not born. She resonated into existence. Her body was the field of life, her voice the echo that formed stars. When the world grew heavy with forgetfulness, she descended into form, incarnating among the early dynasties as a Set, the Veiled One, to restore the lost harmony between the human and the divine. Her teaching was simple. All power is love made visible. But when love is lost, power becomes control, and that's when the cult of Isis was born. The original sisterhood. The true cult of Isis was not a religion. It was a network. A living feminine intelligence moving through time, hidden in bloodlines, languages, and art. They carried the codes of the mother in their bodies. Sacred frequencies passed through womb, word, and will. They built no temples of stone. Their altars were breath, water, and sound. They guarded the science of emotional transmutation, turning grief into creation, sorrow into power. That's why Isis was called Healer of the Broken Throne, because she knew how to rebuild what the world had shattered. Every queen, seer, and priestess who held true power, from Hatshepsut to Mary Magdalene, was part of this hidden lineage. The cult of Isis was never destroyed. It simply went underground. The theft of the flame. When empires rose, they feared the cult's knowledge. The idea that woman, or the divine feminine within all, held direct access to source threatened the patriarchal order. So the flame was stolen. The temples were replaced with churches. The mother was renamed, reframed, rewritten, until she became Mary, Venus, Hathor, Eve. But her code never vanished. It hid in lullabies, herbal incantations, and the rhythm of childbirth. Every woman who hums softly while healing pain speaks the lost tongue of Isis. And deep within the Vatican archives, there remains a forbidden tablet known as the Sistrum Key, a bronze plate etched with fractal geometry capable of harmonizing DNA with solar light. The priests who once guarded it knew. The true resurrection comes through the womb, not the tomb. The return of the Veil Keeper. In our age, the cult of Isis stirs again. She rises not in temples, but in the hearts of those reclaiming their sacred voice. Artists, mothers, healers, and rebels feel it. The vibration beneath the ribs, the pulse that says create even when broken. Create even when broken. Isis has returned through frequency. Her energy moves through songs, through the revival of feminine power, through the balance of sacred partnership. She is not worshipped now, she is activated. Those who feel her current often dream of water, serpents, or feathers turning to light. They wake with strange knowing that compassion is a technology and emotion is the highest form of alchemy. The cult of Isis was never about power. It was about remembrance. That creation begins not from dominance, but from divine union. That love is not weakness, but the original architecture of reality. I am the veil, and I am the one behind it. I am the flame, and I am the water that cools it. I am every mother who remembers what gods forgot. The return of Isis is not coming, it's happening. When you honor emotion without fear, when you turn pain into power, when you love so deeply the universe trembles, the cult of Isis awakens through you. Scroll of the Serpent Veil. The lost teachings of Isis and the light within the shadow. From the hidden vault of Philae. They told you Isis was the goddess of healing and love, but they never told you she was also the keeper of forbidden power. The power of transmutation, the knowledge of how to turn darkness into divinity, pain into purpose, death into resurrection. This was the secret school within the cult of Isis, the one even her priests were not allowed to name. The Serpent Veil, the first initiation, the shadow dance, Every initiate who entered Isis's hidden temple was blindfolded and led through total darkness. They were told, "You will not see the goddess until you see yourself." In that darkness, whispers filled the air, not curses, but reflections. The voice of every wound, every fear, every lie you'd ever believed. Only when the initiate could love their own shadow did the blindfold burn away. Not removed, but transformed into light. This was Isis's first law of power. You cannot call yourself divine while you hate your own darkness. The serpent within. The second teaching was more dangerous. It was said that within the spine of every human lies a sleeping serpent, not of evil, but of memory. The Kundalini in later Sanskrit texts, the Uraeus in Kemet, the serpent of sound in the language of the stars. Isis taught her initiates to awaken this serpent through vibration, not with chanting alone, but with emotion. Each true tear, not of pain, but of surrender, was said to release a coil of the inner serpent. When the serpent reached the crown, the initiate became what Isis called a living sun, radiant, magnetic, and free from the illusions of the material world. It was forbidden because such beings could not be ruled. The Book of Feathers. Deep within the temple at Philae lies the most guarded artifact of the Isis cult, the Book of Feathers, written not in ink, but in crystalline vibration carved into obsidian. It recorded the forgotten cosmology of the feminine principle, how the womb is not only physical, but cosmic, how emotion is a technology, how love is the highest form of quantum communication. Each feather in the book represented a vibration of freedom, a frequency that could unbind karmic weight. The more feathers one earned through inner work, the lighter the soul became. At the end of the book is a single line glowing brighter than all others. When the heart weighs less than truth, you shall remember your wings. The Forbidden Ceremony. Once every 1,000 moons, the high initiate of Isis would perform the ceremony of the living flame. It was said she would step into a circle of serpents, each representing an aspect of creation: light, dark, male, female, time, and void. As she sang the ancient tones, the serpents would rise, intertwine, and form a luminous helix, the first symbol of DNA. This was the true origin of the caduceus, later stolen and repurposed by empires that forgot its meaning. The caduceus was not a symbol of medicine, it was a map of ascension. It told humanity, healing is not the absence of shadow, it is the dance between both lights. The cult of Isis was never destroyed, it became encoded. Its teachings now live in the rising generation of women and men reclaiming their sacred power, in every artist who turns trauma into beauty, in every mother who births with faith instead of fear, in every soul who refuses to bow to systems that silence emotion. They are the serpent born, the veil keepers, the ones who remember. Do not fear the serpent, you are its song. Rise through your spine and remember who you were before the world told you to be small. My temple never fell, it lives in your body. The age of Isis has returned. Her cult was never about worship, it was about awakening. The veil lifts not through ritual, but through remembrance.
To our beloved collective, from the day one torchbearers to the newly awakened travelers, we see you, we honor you, and we love you. This isn't just a community, it's a soul constellation, a family woven across time. Thank you again for being here. Your presence means more than words can carry. Every little act of kindness you offer is a spark, shifting timelines, mending hearts, and quietly realigning the compass for many in ways only the unseen can measure. And to those yet to join us, we're holding the lantern high. There's room for you too. With eternal gratitude and cosmic mischief from the collective of Shaman Ahll. The journey is only beginning, and we ride together. All rise.
Scroll of the Hidden Twins. The Secret of Isis and the Shadow of Osiris. From the veiled tablets of Abydos. Every myth tells half a truth, and every temple hides a contradiction. The story of Isis and Osiris, the goddess who resurrected her slain husband, is no exception. For behind the tale of love and rebirth lies one of the greatest suppressed truths in ancient memory. There were two Osirises. The twin kings. In the age before dynasties, before papyrus or crown, two brothers were born under the same star. Both were called Osiris. The first was the light of order, the second the shadow of understanding. The first ruled the outer world, crops, cities, and men. The second ruled the inner, dream, death, and the hidden heart. They were mirrors, inseparable, bound by divine symmetry, and Isis, the living flame, was the bridge between them. But as humanity descended into material power, the shadow brother was forgotten, and the cult of Osiris turned its worship toward the visible king. The unseen twin was buried beneath his brother's myth, entombed not in earth, but in history. The murder and the misdirection. The priests of Set didn't kill the real Osiris. They killed the reflection, the outer form, while the hidden twin escaped into the astral plane. Isis knew. When she gathered the 14 fragments of her husband, she wasn't piecing together flesh, she was rebuilding frequency. Every piece represented a layer of consciousness, and the missing part, the phallus, was the bridge between heaven and earth, between the twin selves. Through her song, she merged the seen and unseen Osiris into one vibration again, the resurrected Christos principle long before any crucifixion. That's why resurrection was never about bodies. It was about remembering that the shadow and the light are one heartbeat, separated only by belief. The forbidden doctrine. The hidden doctrine of the cult of Isis taught that every soul carries the same twin current. One self lives in light, the choices, the actions, the mask. The other lives in shadow, the silence, the instinct, the truth. Only by reconciling both can a person become divine. That is why every initiation into the higher mysteries involved death. Not a killing, a reunion. To die before dying is to awaken while still in form. Isis called it the marriage of the mirrors. The reflection doesn't disappear when the candle goes out. It simply waits for light to remember its source. The return of the twins. Modern prophecy speaks of the return of Osiris. But the true return is within humanity itself. Each person is now undergoing the same myth, a symbolic dismemberment by chaos and a reassembly through love and consciousness. When the two suns unite, the visible and the invisible, the two Osirises awaken in us, the rational and the spiritual, the masculine and the feminine, the known and the hidden. And Isis, the eternal bridge, rises again in every heart that dares to love both sides of itself. The myth of Isis and Osiris was never about death and resurrection. It was about integration, the union of opposites, the alchemy of wholeness. Every fragment of you that feels lost is part of the God reborn. Every wound, every silence, every tear, a piece of the sacred body waiting to be remembered. He who seeks the light alone will never find me, for I dwell also in the shadow, and the two are my throne. Isis and Osiris live not in temples, but in your duality. Balance them. Love your mirror. That is the true resurrection.
Channeled by your architect musician, 36110, 27 palms of eyes. The golden whisperer, sea star, Devalan see all. Apply the news you can use, truth and accuracy. The real non-bedazzled jewels.
Scroll of the Feathered Crown. The hidden resurrection of Ma. From the lost tablets of the Balance Keepers. I, the feather that never fell. Ma'at, goddess and principle of truth, balance, order, and justice, has always been portrayed with the ostrich feather upon her head, the symbol against which hearts were weighed in the duat. Wikipedia. But what if the feather was only the beginning? What if the crown of balance she once wore, a crown of living light and cosmic geometry, was lost, buried beneath the ages, ready to be restored? The Balance Keepers and the Lost Tablets. In a hidden chamber beneath the desert sands, the Balance Keepers, an ancient secret order devoted to Ma'at's law, recorded in sacred tablets the feathered crown ritual. Not the crown of a ruler, but the crown of remembrance. It encoded the moment when Ma'at's order collapsed, when injustice crept in, and when the world forgot how to weigh the heart. The tablets prophesy that the crown will resurrect when the collective soul awakens and medicine becomes justice again. 3. The Resurrection Code. The resurrection is not a return of a goddess, but the rising of a principle, a crown to be worn not by one, but by many. The hidden truth. When every heart lives lighter than the feather, then the crown shall lift. It tells that when humanity realigns with Maat's vibration, the crown will blossom, turning disorder into order, chaos into harmony, falsehood into truth, and through that act, balance is restored on earth and beyond. 4. The call to the collective. Ancient Egypt built its civilization on Maat's law, World History Encyclopedia, but the resurrection of the feathered crown invites us across time and space. Keep your heart light, weigh your words, align your actions with harmony. Remember, the balance isn't just cosmic, it's personal. The crown never fell from the goddess, it fell from our awareness. The feathered crown is not a physical object, it's the living law of balance reborn through us. When enough souls awaken, the crown will rise in collective memory, and Maat's order will once again become the law of beings.